A very good afternoon to all of you. Today, I'm not going to take up any lesson from your literature textbooks, but I'm going to do something slightly different and, let there be a change. So today I'm just going to take up small errors that you all tend to make, when you're speaking or when you're writing. So I will begin with yours. Okay, I will begin with this little error which you make, but it's not a little error, actually it's a big error. Now when you're writing any letter or the subscription, and there you have to pen down yours sincerely. So most of the children, I don't know why, but they tend to put an apostrophe in that yours. Now that is incorrect, because yours is, when we have Y-O-U-R-S, yours, it is a possessive case of nouns. So when you tend to put an apostrophe there, then it becomes a contraction, that is your is. So you cannot sign off as your is and then your name. Your is sincerely and your name. So that is completely wrong. So please do not put an apostrophe in yours, because that's a possessive case of nouns. And when you put an apostrophe, it becomes a contraction. Okay, it becomes a contraction, like when we have to write cannot, we simply contract it and we write can't, C-A-N apostrophe T. Okay, so that is a contraction. So please do not put an apostrophe in yours. Okay, because yours shows possession or ownership. Okay, and these possessive nouns, they work like adjectives, like mine, mine, his, her, ours, our, their, theirs, your, yours, its and whose. Okay, so please remember, never put an apostrophe when you're signing off in the subscription. Just leave it Y-O-U-R-S minus the apostrophe. Okay, another very common mistake that students make in school is, when they're feeling hot or something, you can hear the other girl shouting, open your cardigan, open your cardigan. Now that is incorrect English. Okay, you are not supposed to say open your cardigan. You're supposed to say take off your cardigan, take off your cardigan. And the same thing goes for shoes. When you go for your dance class or something, then it says open your shoes, only then you can go in. It's not opening, it's not a box that is covered, or there's a lid on top that you have to open it. Okay, so for shoes and socks also, we use take off. Take off your shoes, take off your socks. Okay, take off your dress, take off your clothes. It's not open. You're not going to open the seams of the clothes, are you? Okay, so remember, it's take off. Okay, take off your shoes, take off your cardigan, take off your socks. This is a common error which most of the children tend to make. Then another common mistake is when you're talking about a thought came dash my mind. Most of the people say into. Now that is incorrect English. A thought came to my mind. You have to use the word to. Okay. Then another common error that students or sometimes elders also tend to make is with the degrees of comparison. You all know there are 3 degrees of comparison. You have the first degree as positive, second as comparative, and the third degree as the superlative. Now, for example, good, better, best. Clean, cleaner, cleanest. Okay, tall, taller, tallest. Now, the mistake that is made in these kind of sentences or in these kind of comparisons is, for example, I'll give you a sentence. Jack has grown more taller. People tend to use this, okay? Jack has become more taller. Now, the first positive, the first degree was tall. Taller itself is a comparison, and it shows that the person has increased in height, is taller. So there is no need to use the word more with it. Okay, so please remember, when you're doing these or writing something which has a comparison in it, then please remember that you do not use any other word before it, okay? You don't use any kind of determiner before it, more, much, or something like that, okay? So this is totally incorrect. Jack has grown more taller. It is wrong. Jack has grown taller. From tall, he has become taller. And the other thing that you must remember is in these comparison, when you are using the superlative, the third degree, you must always use the before it. The article the has to be there, okay? So the highest, the tallest, the sweetest, the cleverest, the most interesting, the most beautiful. So article is always used before the superlative degree. Please remember. Okay, as we are talking about this article the, there are two ways to pronounce this word, So which generally when you're reading or when you're speaking, you tend to make a mistake. So you must know that the is pronounced in two ways. One is the and one is the. So you must remember when to say the and when to say the. Now any word which is beginning with a vowel, the letters in the alphabet. So we have 5 letters, A, E, I, O, U. Now these 5 words, letters are vowels, okay? These 5 letters are vowels. So, and the rest of the letters besides these 5, they are called consonants. They are called consonants. So any word which begins with a vowel, either A, or E, I, O, or U, what do you have to do? Say before that, the. I am going to the office. I am going to the market. Now you see the difference? I'm going to the office. I'm going to the market. Office, O is a vowel, but M is a consonant. Okay? I am going to the hospital. Do you need the umbrella? Now U is a vowel, so I'm saying the. Do you need the umbrella? Then the oranges I bought were sour. The oranges. O is a vowel. Now over here, again, the elderly people should be looked after. Why? Why the here? Because it begins with E and E is a vowel. So remember, before a vowel, this article the is pronounced as the. And for the rest of the words which begin with consonants, we say the. I hope that is clear to you. Okay. Now, another common error that you all make, is with the words like receive, deceive. So for this, there's a simple rule that C is followed by E. So when you're writing, I received your letter, or I received this, or whatever you want to, because in your writing skills, in letters and all that you're writing, so please be very careful not to make this mistake, and remember that C is usually followed by E. For example, receive, deceive, perceive, conceive. Okay, so C is followed by E. So this spelling error should not be made by you. Now, another spelling error that is very common among students is principal and principal. One is with P-A-L and the other one is P-L-E. Now, P-L-E, you can talk about, it's a fundamental truth or a proposition which serves as the foundation for a system of belief or behavior. We generally say he's a man of principles, good conduct, disciplined, good behavior. He follows certain principles. So that is P-L-E. And the other P-A-L, we generally, talk about the head of the institution, somebody who's leading an institution, and we call him or her the principal, okay? And the other principle we can also say is a scientific theorem, okay? Is a scientific theorem. Now, another common error that you make is lose and lose, okay? So one is L-O-O-S-E and the other one is L-O-S-E. Now, the one with the double O, lose. Lose means, something that does not fit properly. Like this shirt is too loose for me. It's an ill fit. It's oversized. Okay, doesn't fit properly, ill fit. So, lose. This ring is loose. that it keeps slipping off my finger. So just remember to differentiate. The one with two O's means bigger in size, okay? So then you'll never make that mistake. So loose is for the not fitting. The other with a single O, lose, comes from the word lost. When you lose something, when you've lost something. So please don't make, because it's a common error. The other common error that we talk about among students is stationary and stationary. One ends with ERY and the other ends with ARY. Now the sun is a stationary body without any movement. That is ARY. And the one that ends with ERY, they refer to your pens, pencils, erasers, and all your stationary items. Now just to remember, you can say that PEN, pen, pencil, PEN. So pen, pencil, eraser, they all have E, as a letter in the word. So remember that stationery also has ERY. Don't confuse the two. Okay. Then we talk about simple things, like if supposing a tap is, running and you want to call out and tell somebody, so what will you say? You will say turn on the tap or turn off the tap. Okay, so if it's running or it's leaking or it's dripping, you will say turn off the tap properly. We also say turn on the gas, turn off the gas, turn on the light, turn off the light. Okay, turn on the radio, turn off the radio, turn on the television, turn off the television. Okay, and usually when drop by drop there's water coming out from the tap, then we say it's a dripping tap or it's a leaking tap. Another common error is when we say, for example, I'll give you a sentence, please return back this book. Now that is incorrect English. Why? Because return itself means giving back. So you do not have to use the word back with the word return. Okay, you just leave it. Please return the book. You don't have to say please return back the book. Okay, you don't say that. Then when sometimes, you board a bus and, like for example, your school bus. And then you go and say, oh, there's no place in the bus, it's packed and all. The place is this word is not supposed to be used over there. We say there is no room in the bus. There is no room in the bus. Another word that is confused is hanged. Okay. Now we have the word hang, and the past tense is hung, and the past participle is also hung. Hang, hung, hung. But there is another word that is hanged. Now this word hanged is only used in the sense of, when we put somebody to death. Hanged till death, like the order comes from the judge that hanged till death. So hanged with ed we only use when somebody is being put to death. Okay, the traitor was hanged for treason. Okay, but the other hang, hung, and hung. Please hang the keys on the wall. The picture was hung on the wall. Okay. So there where we have, the word that is hang, hung, and hung. But hanged we only use when we are putting somebody to death. Okay. Then there is another place where we use hung up. Somebody has given you a call and you're still talking, but the other person has put the phone down or has disconnected. Then we can say, he hung up before I had a chance to end the call. He hung up because before I had a chance to end the call. Okay. Now, another common mistake that most of the people make, it's not only students, like when you're coming to school and you're getting late, and then you say, when you talk about a traffic jam. So generally the statement that you make is, I was stuck up in a traffic jam. Now this is wrong English. I was stuck in a traffic jam is enough. Okay. Stuck up means people who are very, arrogant and haughty, very stuck up kind of, so that is not used. Stuck up is not used when you are talking about a traffic jam. It's only stuck. Okay. Now, something just to add to your knowledge. We talk about an umbrella and we talk about a parasol, Parasol. Umbrella is usually used as a protection for rain, as a protection against rain. And parasol we generally use when there is sunlight or sunshine, when we want to protect ourselves against the heat of the sun. But they are used interchangeably, but generally, umbrellas are waterproof, but parasols generally are not waterproof. So rain is umbrella and sunshine is parasol. Then we talk about, pips and seeds, okay, generally which are there in a fruit. Now, what is the difference? There is a very slight difference only. Pip suggests, they're all seeds basically, but pip suggests the sound of a seed being spat out of the mouth, after consuming the pulp or the flesh of the fruit. As supposing if we are having a blueberry. Now in blueberry, we wouldn't call the seeds of a blueberry pips because we don't spit those seeds out, okay? And then there is another word also which we use, pit, P-I-T. Now, pit is the hard stone in a fruit that contains the seed. Seeds can be many or one in a fruit, but pits are always one. You find pits in a cherry, you find pits in plums, peaches, and dates, okay? While mangoes, oranges, and apples have seeds. So we have seeds, pips, interchangeable kinds, and pit is, there's always a single. Okay, then another very important aspect when we are writing is, sometimes we make funny mistakes. Like, for example, you're comparing, my dress is better than Nancy. You just finished that. You have it in mind that you are talking about your dress and you're comparing it with Nancy's dress. But you leave it incomplete and say, my dress is better than Nancy. Now, how can a dress be compared to a person? So, as a result, what would you say? My dress is better than Nancy's dress. Okay, you have to complete it. Okay, another very important point that is there. In a sentence, sometimes we have a sentence beginning with one, O-N-E. One should take care of dash health. Generally, what you all children use in the dash is one should take care of his health, or one should take care of her health, or generally his. But that is incorrect, because any sentence which begins with one, in the blank also we should have the same word. One should take care of one's health. Okay, we do not write his, her, we write one should take care of one's health. O-N-E apostrophe S, one's health. Similarly, one should be regular in dash work. So one should be regular in one's work. Okay. One should know dash worth, W-O-R-T-H. So you can complete it. One should know one's worth. So whenever you get a sentence like this, which begins with one, where the subject says that one, so you have to again continue with the same, and that is one's with O-N-E apostrophe S. This is very, very important while speaking also and while writing also. Okay. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is relative pronouns, relative pronouns is very, very important that, you should know which pronouns have to be used with what. So relative pronouns, as the name suggests, they are related to pronouns. So that is why they are relatives, okay? So relative pronoun related to a noun, and they specify. Now there are words like who, whom, and whose. Now these words should be used to refer to persons only. Which refers to places, objects, animals, and things. Okay, so which is associated with places, objects, animals, and things. Then we have the word that. That refers to places, objects, and sometimes it also relates to people. But there is an exception when we use that with people, okay? And I'll just give you some example. The boy who is in the red shirt is my brother. Who? Because we're talking about a person. Secondly, this is the pen dash I lost yesterday, that I lost yesterday, or which I lost yesterday. Then this is the dog dash helped me out. This is the dog which helped me out, or this is the dog that helped me out. Now, when we talk about using that with persons, okay, so there is an exception that we use that with people or persons only when we have the words all, only, or a superlative. Superlative, the third degree, okay? I'll give you an example for this. He is the only person that is known to me here. Okay, because only is there in the sentence, so I have used that. This is the only person that is known to me here. Then for a superlative, he is the best boy that ever joined our school. Okay, so this is that we use rarely with human beings, and we use it if we have words like all, only, or a superlative there. Okay, now the word whose we use with people because it shows ownership and it shows possession. This is the girl whose bag was stolen yesterday. Okay. Now, after that, I would like to tell you, you've done, in grammar, you must have done your first person, second person, third person, especially when you've done narration, okay? Now, first person is the speaker. The person speaking is addressed as the first person. And what does it comprise? For a singular sense, it comprises I, me, mine. And for a plural purpose, it means we and us. That's the first person. Second person is the person spoken to, okay? And this comprises you and yours, okay? The third person is the person spoken about, okay? So, and the third person comprises he, his, she, her, it, they, them, theirs, etc. Okay. Now, what I want to tell you here is, in a sentence, sometimes you have to say, the teacher asks you to do some work, and you quickly, you stand up and say, I and this one will do the work, ma'am. Now, that is an incorrect way of saying it. You have to put yourselves second or last, okay? So, you can, supposing it is Rosie and Sangeeta, okay? Ma'am, I and Sangeeta will do the work. That is wrong. What will you say? Sangeeta and I will do the work, ma'am. Okay? So you have to place yourselves behind the other person. Okay? Similarly, supposing you have all three. I'll give you a sentence. I, you and he went to see the movie. Generally, this is the way we speak. You like to put yourselves first. I, you and he went to see the movie. But this is totally incorrect. Because what you have to do is you have to take the second person first, you have to take the third person second, and the first person will come last. So what will you say? You, he, and I went to see the movie. So you have to bear with a little humility and put yourselves last. Have you got that? So this is a common mistake where you first say, I and this one. No, you have to say this one and I. Okay, you have to. And if you have all three, the second person, you, he or she, or they or them, whatever, and I went. So you have to place I last. Okay. So that was that. These are certain small things, which we generally forget, and we do make mistakes. Okay. Then I wanted to do some nice little, for a change, with all of you. Of course, some of you must be very well familiar with these idioms and phrases and all these, but it's nice when you're writing, to make your writing more creative, Instead of saying Benny was nervous before his maths test, you could write it in a creative way by saying Benny had butterflies in his stomach before his maths test. Okay, signs of nervousness, like a butterfly's, wings fluttering. So nervousness, when your nerves are on edge. Okay, so instead of saying Benny was nervous before the maths test, you could also say Benny had butterflies in his stomach before his maths test. Similarly, if I give you a simple sentence, he was so naughty that he often troubled his mother greatly. Okay, they're simple words, nothing, that everybody will understand that the child was so naughty that he troubled his mother greatly. Now, we could rewrite this sentence more creatively by saying, he was so naughty that he often drove his mother up the wall. Okay, so when we use this kind of an idiom and this kind of a phrase, your writing becomes more creative. He was so naughty that he often drove his mother up the wall. Okay, now I'll give you another one. He could not understand the maths lesson. Could not understand, could not comprehend, okay, lacked comprehension. So we could say that in a slightly more creative manner. The maths lesson went over his head. Okay, he could not understand a word of it. The maths lesson went over his head. So it enriches the language and it forms a variety. Okay. I give you a sentence. Amy bakes cakes which are excellent. Okay, excellent cakes. Now, if you wanted to write it more creatively, how would you write it? You would say, Amy bakes cakes which are out of the world. Out of the world, instead of just saying excellent. Okay. Okay. Next sentence. Mary got scared before going on stage for her performance. Mary got scared before going on stage for her performance. Now, this could be written a little more creatively by saying, Mary got cold feet before going on stage for her performance. Cold feet. Okay. It was so hot in the afternoon that we nearly fainted in the heat. It was so hot in the afternoon that we nearly fainted in the heat. Now, this could be rewritten as, it was so hot in the afternoon that we nearly passed out. Okay, passed out is to lose consciousness. Okay, that we nearly passed out in the heat. Okay, be serious and stop teasing me. Okay, be serious and stop teasing me. So, for teasing me, we could write another little phrase, be serious and stop pulling my leg. And stop pulling my leg. Next one. Jones bought the guitar at a low price. So, instead of this low price, at a low price, we can substitute that Jones bought the guitar for a song. At a very low price. Okay. Max listened carefully when his father talked about his adventure in the jungle. Listened carefully. That can be rewritten. Max was all ears. Was all ears. Listening very carefully when his father talked about his adventure in the jungle. The next one. The students thought of many ideas for the school play. Thought of. Now, this could be rewritten using the students came up with many ideas for the school play. Came up with. Next one. We caught the train just in time. We caught the train just in time. So, for just in time, you could substitute it by we caught the train by the skin of our teeth. We caught the train by the skin of our teeth. Just in time. New facts were discovered after the experiment was conducted in the laboratory. Were discovered. Instead of writing were discovered, we could use new facts came to light after the experiment was conducted in the laboratory. Okay. Next one. After winning the first prize, he was very happy. Now, very happy or he was in ecstasy, these are, simple words. So we could substitute it by saying, after winning the first prize, he was on cloud 9. Cloud 9, okay? Robin was not friendly with his classmates. Not friendly. So we have to substitute that. So we could also say, Robin. Robin was not on good terms with his classmates. Okay. Now your mummy tells you, please wash the dishes immediately. Please wash the dishes immediately. If you have to replace the word immediately, what would you write? Mummy asked you to wash the dishes right away. Immediately means right away. Okay. Natasha could not think of anything to say when she was asked to speak at the party. Natasha could not think of what to say when she was asked to speak at the party. Now, could not think of what to speak. So if you have to say that in a different manner, what will you say? Natasha was at a loss for words when she was asked to speak at the party. At a loss for words. Next one. The boss got very angry when he learnt of the officer's blunder. So, got very angry. So, we could replace that by saying, the boss blew his top when he learnt of the officer's blunder. Next one. The government took serious measures against the black money holders. The government took serious measures against the black money holders. Took serious measures, if you have to replace that, what will we write? The government cracked down, C-R-A-C-K-E-D. The government cracked down on black money holders. All right. Now, sometimes we say, when one praises oneself to the hilt, what do we say? Like if I say that Sonia always praises herself. She loves to blow her own trumpet. Okay, she loves to blow her own trumpet. Now, sometimes when it's raining very, very heavily, we do say we couldn't go out to play because it was raining cats and dogs. Okay. Sometimes to let out a secret. Okay. Harry told everybody about the surprise party. His friends were very annoyed with him because ... Now, telling out a secret, we can replace that by saying he had let the cat out of the bag. Or there's another one we can use. He had spilt the beans. Okay, S-P-I-L-T. Spilt the beans. B-E-A-N-S. Next one. When he was suddenly thrown out of his job, the poor man was, he didn't know what to do, how he was going to make a living. So we can say when he was suddenly thrown out of the job, the poor man was completely at sea, S-E-A, was completely at sea, confused, not knowing what to do. Okay, the next one I think is simple for you. When, you try to repent later on, then we generally say there is no use crying over spilt milk, when the damage has already been done, All right. Next one. to be on pins and needles. Okay, when you are very anxious and you're tense, then we can use the term to be on pins and needles. It's very uncomfortable to be on pins and needles. Okay, so the idea is to talk about anxiety and stress. So if we have to use that here, we can say Mrs. George was on pins and needles while her husband was undergoing an operation. Pins, P-I-N-S, and needles, you all know. Okay. Sometimes, people talk things that don't make sense at all. So, for those kind of people, we can say, like for example, I give you here, Herman is dash, said Lily, when she heard him proclaim that he could spell every word in the English language. When somebody just tries to brag or boast, and it doesn't make sense at all. So for those kind of thing, we say talking through his hat. Herman is talking through his hat, said Lily, when she heard him proclaim that he could spell every word in the English language. Hard to believe, and he's just bragging and boasting. Okay. Next sentence. Mary never thinks before she speaks. She is always, getting into trouble or embarrassing everyone around her. So what idiom can be used over here? Mary never thinks before she speaks. She is always putting her foot in her mouth. Putting her foot in her mouth, and she's embarrassing everybody around. Okay. Something that is, you promise to do something for somebody, you make a promise. And to make a promise also can be rewritten with the word to keep your word. She keeps her word. That means she promised and she will keep her word. Okay. Somebody who is very blunt and who speaks, to somebody's face without thinking for a moment. Those people we say, that they're very blunt. And we also use the word that she does not mince words. Their words are not sugar-coated or they are not given in any other way. They're given directly. Then we say she does not mince words, to say something. Okay. Next one. If something is being planned, the principal told the students that the construction of the new auditorium was, being decided. So how will we complete the sentence? We could also say that the principal told the students that the construction of the new auditorium was on the cards. That means it was being planned and worked on. Now, after scolding Jim, he improved, or he became a better person, or he changed completely. So that then we can say, after the scolding, Jim turned over a new leaf and never troubled anybody again. Turned over a new leaf. Then working very, very hard, and for a student, so day and night before the exams, how hard you have to work. So that is called burning the midnight oil. When you work very, very hard, late at night, you don't go to sleep, you sacrifice your sleep, then you say that is called burning the midnight oil. The poor girl wanted a pretty dress. Now instead of wanted, we could put in another better word, longed for a pretty dress or yearned for a pretty dress. Okay. Then if a teacher pulls you up, what does that mean? Pulls you up doesn't mean that she pulls you up like that. Pulls you up means scolds you. Okay. So scolding is, the teacher scolded Rahul. So we can say Rahul was pulled up by his teacher for misbehaving in class. Pulled up. Okay. The rope broke while the workmen were pulling up the iron pillar. The rope broke or snapped. So what will we say instead of that? We can use better words. The rope gave way. Gave way, it broke, it snapped. Okay. And there are many, verbs which are followed by different prepositions or adverbs, and, they make idiomatic sense. For example, if I say backed up means supported. Blow over, pass off. Hit upon means to find. Led up to, prepared the way for, okay? Then carried out, the orders were carried out, the orders were implemented. Carried away, I got carried away by the story of the poor child. Carried away means overpowered by emotion. Carried on, managed to do, complete the task. Carried on, not to stop in between. Okay. Now, thieves dash into a house yesterday. Entered by force. What word will you give for entered by force? Thieves broke into a house yesterday. Broke into. Okay. He dashed completely when he heard of his father's death. Broke down. Okay. When you lose self-control. He broke down. When you begin to cry and wail. Okay. He dashed his friendship with Jerry over a petty issue, a small issue. And you have to substitute a word with ended. So we can say he broke off, O-double-F. He broke off his friendship with Jerry over a petty issue. All the neighbors had to tolerate a lot of nonsense from Mr. John, for he created trouble very often. Tolerate. Can you substitute that with an idiomatic phrase? All the neighbors had to put up with. To put up with means to tolerate. Okay. Please dash the candle before you leave, said Sherry. And the word in brackets is extinguish. Extinguish, bujhana. Okay. So there's an order. Please extinguish the candle. So how can we substitute the word extinguish? We can substitute it with the words put out. Please put out the candle before you leave. His departure has been dashed for a week because of his illness. Postponed. You have to substitute the word postponed. His departure has been put off. O-double-F. Put off. Then there was another interesting thing which I had done with my children when I was teaching in class, in school. Okay. British and American things, in the Britishers call it autumn and the American call it fall, okay? So with the fall, that is the autumn season when trees and shed their leaves, okay? The British call it back garden and the Americans call it backyard. The British call it a bill. When you go to a restaurant, you say, please bring the bill. But in America, it is called a check. Please bring the check, okay? Then British call it a bonnet in a car that you have, the bonnet of the car. And the Americans call it hood. Now, when you wear these trousers, you use these, suspenders or braces. So Britishers call it braces, but Americans call it suspenders. Then the lovely Swedish that we sometimes use, candy floss. So Britishers call it candy floss and Americans call it cotton candy. Okay. The Britishers call it a car park, but the Americans call it a parking lot. Then Britishers call it curtains, but the Americans call them drapes. Okay, drapes. Then the Britishers call it a lift and the Americans call it an elevator. Okay. Britishers say minced beef and Americans say ground beef. Then the Britishers call it a nappy, but the Americans call it a diaper. Okay, call it a diaper. The Britishers call it the pavement and the Americans call it the sidewalk. The Britishers call it petrol, but Americans call it gas. The Britishers call it postcode, Americans call it zip code. The Britishers say queue and the Americans say line. Britishers say sweets and Americans say candy. Britishers say tap and Americans call it the faucet. F-A-U-C-E-T. The Britishers say underground and the Americans call it subway. S-U-B-W-A-Y. Britishers, washing of hands and faces, they say to wash, and the Americans say to wash up. Then Britishers call it the windscreen and the Americans call it the windshield. Okay. And we have the torch for the Britishers and you have a flashlight for the Americans. Okay. Okay, well, for today I think that much is sufficient to break the monotony of, listening to other things. So a little creative. In between, I will keep taking, one class for this kind of activity. Next time we would, move on to something like metaphorical writing or something, so that it interests you and it helps you in your writing ability. And all those things that I told you in the beginning, I'm sure you'll try to rectify your spoken English by not making all those mistakes that I have tried to tell you at the beginning of this video. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you all.